I gotta pull the budget.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Nerd Week Live here on YouTube, brought to you by the folks at Nerd Caliber. I am
Good evening, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
am
Welcome
hearing
once
myself
again to Nerd
in
Week
my
Live
ear
here
because
on
I forgot to
YouTube,
turn the
brought
sound off on my chat preview window, which I apparently am doing often these days. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook as a cosplay photographer, Burley_adopter on Twitter and a couple of other places as mostly a tech journalist. And joining me tonight is, introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, I am the one, the only Byron McNeil, aka Byron D0, on various facets of the internet, from YouTube to Facebook. I also run on top of being a contributing writer for the site, I also run my own podcast, the We Trash Can Podcast, where we talk about all things anime related, from anime games to anime movies, even live action adaptations on occasion. And Western anime adaptations. It's a good time. We're on all the major platforms for podcasting, including SoundCloud. Although SoundCloud is really ridiculous with their whatchamacallit file uploading thingies. So, that's your last ditch effort there.
So,
yeah.
Right now, avoid SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. That's what you're hearing. All right, folks, we have what looks like a short roster going in, and then a bunch of new stuff dropped, as it often does, right at the very last minute. So we got all sorts of interesting news that didn't even get teased in the teaser on YouTube. Pennywise, hello, welcome to the show. Naylene, welcome to the show. And everybody, to paraphrase the brilliant Maurice White, yada yada, welcome to September. So we have a pretty decent show with a lot of topics. Thank you. I can't do that. My voice can't even come close to that. And in fact, that's Philip Bailey, who does all the falsetto stuff. But
yes, he does.
That is Earth, Wind, and Fire, folks, for those of you who either aren't into 70s funk or aren't as old as me, and that qualifies both for me, because I am that old and I am that into it.
I grew up in a black family, so yeah.
There you go. Waifu is ready for It Chapter 2. We would be, Waifu. Do we want to share that story, or don't we want to share that story?
Well, there's not much to it. Due to unforeseen circumstances, that's why I am here instead of screening it tonight.
Yes, tonight would be our press screening, and we have a review up for you in a couple of days. But that review will have to wait until somebody can get to an actual show or another screening. Marvin, welcome to the show, because life happens.
Yep.
Particularly when the screening is in a city 40-ish miles? I don't know how far away you are. Anyway.
45 minutes.
45 minutes. Oh, well, in that case, in Boston traffic, you're 10 miles away. That is not true. Anyway, I'm rambling, and we're about to start this roadshow with that person. So the news is about the HBO series Watchmen. The news that broke today, or yesterday, isn't really about this person, but we missed these castings in the last couple of weeks. So that is Jean Smart in her character from the wonderful TV show Legion. And Jean Smart has been cast to play, they are calling it a Silk Spectre. I'm thinking that she is going to be playing, she is going to be playing the younger Silk Spectre from the movie, roughly the age that her mom was in the movie. Because the series is set that far forward from the comic book and the movie. The other bit of casting is Robert Redford is going to be playing the President of the United States, which may or may not be a historical figure. In the movie, as you recall, Richard Nixon was president and had been president. He was into his, well, the comic book, I think he was into his 5th term, because obviously some laws had changed in the United States. And he is described as being the longest serving president in the history of the country. So he's got to be longer than a fifth-term president.
Longer than Tricky Dick.
Longer than Tricky Dick. But the news is, to see all of these wonderful people, all you have to do is wait until October 20th. And have HBO, obviously, because it's on HBO, so that's an important thing. But October 20th, 9 p.m. is the premiere date of the updated Watchmen, and the more I see about it, the more it looks really, really cool. Even if it is being produced by Damon Lindelof, Lost, Prometheus. Yeah. And Johan, welcome to the show. We are talking about nerd news that has popped up over the course of the last week. This topic that you see right up there is about the Watchmen TV series coming to HBO. Premiere date, October 20th, 9 p.m. If you want to see it, check it out. We've been talking about it a lot on the show in previous weeks. But it's basically projected into a more modern time of the universe of the Watchmen. They have made it very clear that the comics and the movie are canon, and this is a continuation of that universe and the story of the heroes and the culture around that.
Yeah, this is post-Squid Watchmen Worlds.
Post-Squid, if you're the comic book guy. Post Dr. Manhattan.
The machine was called the Squid, though, in the movie. It was an acronym for something else. I forgot what exactly.
Oh yeah, you're right. Quantum interference device of some sort, QID or QUID.
I think Sonic Quantum Interference Device.
That would make sense with the. Anyway, we're just talking about stuff that. Never mind. So yeah, October 20th. Go check it out. Speaking of other premieres, you should have seen all around the country, and particularly if you're here in Carver, Massachusetts, King Richard's Fair premiered this last weekend. No. That has nothing to do with King Richard's Fair. It just looks so much like it, I had to say that. Or Renaissance fairs in general. What that is a scene from Outlander, the ridiculously popular Starz series about time travel and post-Renaissance? What period is that? Colonial period?
Yeah.
Georgian?
Roughly.
Yeah. Anyway. Huge hit. Season 5 is coming up. They have actually announced the date, which I didn't remember, so I'm looking it up. February 16th. So this coming February 16th, Valentine's Day weekend for those of you who are in it for the love story, and Katsucon weekend, for that matter, for those of you who might be otherwise engaged. Is going to be the premiere of the 5th season of Outlander. So if you're into the show, you know this already, because people who are into Outlander are just obsessed with it.
Die hard.
They really are diehards. Yep. Seriously diehards. Which isn't a bad thing. They love their stuff. Just like I love The Expanse, and we'll talk about it even if it's not on the roster, apparently. I'm going to take a step outside. Johan just finished watching the Dora movie. What did you think about it, Johan? I know there's a time delay here, so it's going to be a while before you can respond. But we haven't had any. I'm
definitely curious.
Yeah, we didn't have anybody actually attend the premiere. It's kind of nerdy, but it was a little, not quite in our wheelhouse. But I am kind of funny. Now I'm reading Marvin's response. It's funny. And Johan says it is funny. All right, cool. When it hits some sort of streaming service, I'll be sure to check it out.
Indeed.
The somewhat disturbing maturation of her into a teenager aside, that creeps me out just a little. Just a little bit. So Outlander. February 16th, check it out. If you've got a Starz subscription, that's probably why. Well, I had one for American Gods, so it had nothing to do with Outlander. Luminous. Hey, I think Outlander is set in the 18th century. But still have not watched it. Is Ron Moore still producing it? I don't know that Ron Moore was producing it, but oh my god, really? Ron Moore from the Battlestar Galactica reboot? Wow. You know what? See if that's in the article. The article does mention that they will have. Oh, apparently this is so popular that they are moving the New York Comic Con panel. It's going to be Saturday, October 5th, to the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. Yeah, no mention in here that Ron Moore is involved. I wouldn't doubt it, though. If you say he is, then he is. So, moving past Moore, Ron Moore, and Outlander, we get to our next. This is something that was one of those super, super late editions. I guarantee, if you're monitoring what's coming up on the screens, Byron, you're going to know what that is from.
Oh, I do.
All right. That is, for any anime fan, the Studio Ghibli adaptation of Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea works, which they called Tales from Earthsea. And the news is that they are making a new series, a TV series, being produced by A24, and the Oscar-nominated producer Jennifer Fox, who's nominated for Nightcrawler and for Michael Clayton, who also produced Roman J. Israel Esquire, and here's the one knock, The Bourne Legacy. They can't all be winners. But this had the blessing. So Fox has apparently had this property in her hands for a while, and it has had the blessing of Ursula K. Le Guin since that time. Ursula K. Le Guin, the author of the Earthsea books and stories, and who passed away a few years ago.
Oh yeah, I do remember here.
Yeah, very sad. If you've never read any of these people, I suggest you do. They're pretty easy stories to jump into. They are not as well. They are, as all of Ursula K. Le Guin's works are. They are much, much deeper than they might seem on the surface, but you can get into them as a magic world fantasy story and not worry about any of the deeper implications. Just kind of, as you're reading things, you might be aware that, wow, that was a pretty surprising and deep thing for somebody to do just then, instead of the usual, I'm going to kill something with a sword. But you can view it as just straight up, bunch of kids dealing with magic and dragons and shit, and stuff. Oops. Sorry, monetization.
I feel like since A24 is going to be behind this, there's going to be some level of subversion going on with this property, because if they play it straight, I worry, because that's what Goro Miyazaki did with his version of Tales of Earthsea, and it's been panned by so many fans of Ghibli's work.
It is absolutely my least favorite Ghibli movie. It is not a great adaptation of the works. As bad as many of the elements of the television miniseries that happened 15 years ago or so, with Kristen Kreuk from Smallville. That was more faithful to the tone of the books. Johan, good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow, as they used to say. So, that movie was not great. It was a great source to get artwork for this. But other than that, I mean, I would recommend it if you're an Earthsea fan to be sort of an Earthsea completionist, or if you're a Le Guin fan. But, I hope it's going to be a little bit more true to the books, because we don't need we don't need a subversion, because the books are pretty subversive in the way they deal with traditional magic systems and so on, or non-traditional magic systems, as it were. But we also, we don't need, doesn't have to be an adaptation of like The Left Hand of Darkness and get into just an entire book of nothing but gender identity issues, which is brilliant. I mean, it's a fantastic read, but boy, is that way more complicated than Earthsea. So,
Well, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that A24 is known for, doing those like redefining of humanity type stories. Like look at their pedigree. They have The Farewell, their most recent one, Midsummer,
yeah.
Moonlighting. That movie alone tells me that they could do. You said Left Hand of Darkness is the name of the book.
Yep.
They could. I feel like they could do that one fairly easily.
I think they could too. And honestly, the way The Left Hand of Darkness, and we're getting off on a tangent here, but the way it's set, you only need a little bit of sort of like science fiction-y special effects, and the rest of it's taking place in big stone manses, essentially.
So essentially, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, except it's modern, future actually. Except the people who live in this world who don't live within the trappings of technology all around them. It's just sort of something that's there in their otherwise traditional, classical, older style housing. Again, that's getting way off on a tangent. Never mind that. If you are interested at all in that, the reason I get onto that is that all of Le Guin's works, including the fantasy, or allegedly fantasy titles of Earthsea, are part of a connected science fiction universe that she's written in. Every alien world in every one, every alien world she's created for every book is part of this, including the worlds of Earthsea.
Wow.
And it's very interesting to see how she brings those together. And one quick note about how influential Ursula K. Le Guin is: she coined the term for faster than light communication systems, Ansible, which, if you've read any science fiction, you've probably read somebody use that term for a faster than light radio or some sort of communication system. Ursula K. Le Guin coined it. It was what tied all of the universes together quickly, or all the worlds together quickly, because she did not have faster than light travel. But it was so popular that there are at least 2 giant technology companies that have complete divisions with products named Ansible.
Wow.
So, yeah, she's really popular. Anyway, moving on to our next topic. All right, this kind of blew up out there, and kind of in an inaccurate way, and a lot of that had to do with a lot of the headlines that was in the game press. And that is, Telltale Games is coming back. After shutting down, Telltale Games is back. And in particular, one of the things is that it has the Batman intellectual property still under its rights. Except that's not exactly what's going on. 2 people not even remotely related to Telltale Games and only tangentially related to the games industry at all, purchased the IP assets that still exist for Telltale Games, which is essentially just the brand name and what rights they had. And one of those rights, which they still had for some reason, which tells me that Warner Brothers in DC was lousy at negotiating those rights, was Batman. The other is The Wolf Among Us. And the company has said that it's going to make more games based on these intellectual rights, purchase other intellectual rights, and that anybody that used to work for Telltale Games is invited to consider coming back as a freelancer. Ooh, nice. That's rebooting a game company right there. That's rehiring the hundreds and hundreds of people you fired. Oh, no, it's not. That's 2 people swooping in, buying up the assets on the super, super cheap, and then trying to make what are undoubtedly going to be super shitty games. Damn it, I did it again. Super lousy games. Just happen to hold the Telltale, probably art assets, so they'll look kind of like the Telltale Batman, and the rights to make games.
You know what this reminds me of? Toys R Us. Or, no. Jeffrey's Toy Box now.
Jeffrey's Toy Box.
That's what they're calling it now.
Which is what?
What the company that So you know how Toys R Us went bankrupt.
Oh, Toys R Us. I thought, for some reason, I thought you were saying Toy Story. I was like, what the hell does this have to do with Toy Story? Yes, that's a great example. Toys R Us went bankrupt. Somebody came in and yeah, I guess you could technically say bought the company. They infused it with new funds, is the way they would put it. But that means they
Hmm.
bought the rights and they bought everything. And yeah, they're
Yep.
coming back as stores again. But it's what you say it's gonna be called, Jeffrey's Toy Box. In that case, tells me that they didn't even get the actual naming rights. So yeah, that's just lousy. There's a company, and I can't think of the name of it. It's a subsidiary of Tencent out of China that buys um, uh, failed mobile games, usually mobile RPGs or mobile MMOs.
Games
Uh,
Loft.
hmm?
You're not talking about Games Loft, are you?
Yes, Games Loft.
Yes, because that's what they did with Sonic Runners,
Yep,
and
and
they made an inferior product.
they buy them and they put them out. Sometimes labeling them with a whole new name, sometimes labeling them with just a new, um, as a reboot, or they'll put something else at the end of it.
Sonic
But
Free Runners.
yeah, it's garbage. They put out like absolute garbage. They'll pick up the half-done assets that were still there when the company either shut down the division
Mm-hmm.
or went out of business or whatever, and then just tweak them enough so they can be sort of played and dump them out there. Um, I would not be surprised at all for Telltale to wind up doing this with Batman and whatever else it picks up. Turn the microphone off so you didn't hear me take a drink. All right, so that's it about Telltale-ish games. The problem is they get to call themselves Telltale Games, and that really sucks. All right, next is that man right there, that doctor, the Doctor Who, um, the wonderful Peter Capaldi, has been signed according to a single source at Deadline, but they state that it's solid, and Deadline is pretty good about these things. So we'll call it a single source rumor at this point, but a likely solid one, has been signed to James Gunn's Suicide Squad 2. No clue what he would be playing. I hope it's a villain. I'm trying to think of some sort of Scottish angry villain that he could play. Marvin, he is not a young man. He is an actor of age, so good eyes there, Marvin. Yeah, you got that.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen him as the previous Doctor, the one before Jodie Whittaker, it's a good run. He brings his sort of sassy. He becomes sort of like a sassy old Scottish grandpa to all of his companions, and that's pretty funny.
And he plays a mean guitar. He plays a mean guitar.
And he legit plays a mean guitar. He is actually an outstanding guitarist.
Yes, he was in a rock band with uh, Craig Davidson back in the day.
Yep. Now the article on Deadline also goes into way more depth about this because they don't know what the casting is, to talk about the still ongoing speculation that
Craig Ferguson. Sorry.
Craig Ferguson, yes.
Yes.
Another Scotsman. That Pete Davidson of Saturday Night Live will also be in probably a cameo role, but be in Suicide Squad 2. They take so much time over this rumor, and they don't flesh out much about what Capaldi's supposed to be doing. But we talked about this last week when it was confirmed that Stephen Agee and Nathan Fillion are going to be joining the cast. We don't know what Nathan Fillion is going to be playing, but the rumors out there are very strong that Steve Agee, the comedian, big, bulky comedian, is going to be playing King Shark. Yeah. So that could be funny. Well, that will be funny. It's a James Gunn movie. You know it'll be funny.
Yep.
But looking forward to Capaldi and whatever he does. In the hands of James Gunn, it can't be anything but awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on
So,
to our next topic. That right there is Connor. Connor Kent from Titans Season 2. Probably the clone of Superman, like he is in the comic books. So he is the other Superboy. The one that's more in Young Justice than Titans, but he's actually in both.
mhm.
That is also Crypto.
I was going to ask.
It's absolutely. So the Titans Season 2 trailer dropped. Titans will be on in 3 whole days, folks. Friday, September 6th. And we talked about this again a couple of weeks ago when the trailer itself dropped. But the news about Titans is that this final trailer showed you a lot more of Isai Morales as Deathstroke, including the fact that he seems to be essentially in retirement, and apparently comes out of retirement when Jason Todd, as Robin, basically gets on some sort of, in some sort of reporter's face at some crime scene that they're at, and talks about the Titans being back. So apparently Deathstroke had something to do with the end of the original run of Titans, and the implication is pretty strong that some fish boy might have died.
So, quick question: is this like post Judas contract Titans?
No, and in fact they make it very clear that the yeah, it's a very good looking Crypto. The dog's the beauty of the dog.
Yes.
They make it pretty clear that the Judas contract, in fact the producer said the Judas contract will be a storyline, slightly modified, upcoming. And the reason they're doing it slightly modified is that apparently the reluctant new member of the new iteration of the Titans is, what's her name?
Tara.
No, Slade Wilson's daughter, Rose Wilson.
Yes, Ravager.
So they're going to have to modify the storyline a little. There is no Tara, and my guess is that's probably because they don't want to deal with Tara's effects. They've already got Coriander that they have to, Starfire that they have to deal with, and Raven.
Well, I mean, Young Justice did a decent job with her.
Oh, Young Justice did a fantastic job with her, but that's a cartoon. This is live action.
Fair.
Now, the only let me get that back. Actually, the only thing I'm a little concerned with is I don't think this is the actor that showed up at the very end of Titans season 1. That was Connor, because that kid was jacked to the nines. I mean, he was freaking huge. He looked like a Superman. And this kid doesn't, although his arm is kind of being hidden by the dog, so I can't tell. But, so it may be a different casting. Now, granted, Connor doesn't have to be. Connor isn't really drawn in the comics or in Young Justice as being, like, super duper jacked.
Very true.
But anyway, check out the trailer if you haven't. It's really worth watching. You really get a sense of where they're going with the storyline and how deeply they're connecting it to their version of previous Titans mythos, and it's really solid. And they continue. The two best characters from season 1, hands down, were Hawk and Dove, and they continue with a lot of Hawk and Dove stuff. So,
yeah. I need to watch season 1 still.
So I understand. You can only get it on DC Universe. If you don't have a DC Universe subscription, then although if you've seen Young Justice Outsiders, you must, unless you're finding it some other way, which I don't judge. We don't judge here. Please, if you can, pay what you can. But those people who go to the other side of the internet, be careful while you're out there, folks. Other than that,
it's seedy.
It's seedy. Other than that, we don't judge. All right, speaking of DC stuff, and we're just kind of like swimming in this. And in fact, one of the cool things about the Titans Season 2 trailers, you also get to see a little bit more of Ian Glenn as Bruce Wayne.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Can't wait. Jorah Mormont swinging around not a sword, a batarang.
Batarang.
But anyway, speaking of Batman, this is a rumor. This is a single source rumor. But again, it comes from I can't remember. Oh, I'll find out right now. It comes from Bleeding Cool, and Bleeding Cool is pretty good about their rumors. And that is that sometime in 2020, leading into 2021, DC will have its first black Batman. Actual wearing the Batman outfit.
So not the signal, pretty much.
Not just the signal, and not this guy. I put this guy up there so I could have this really cool image. If you are a DC fan, you know that is Batwing.
Lucas Fox.
Originally a Ugandan or Congolese, David Favimbe. But yes, now he's Lucius Fox's son.
Yes.
So there is a black crime fighter in the extended Bat family. But this rumor has it that this will be just like there have been multiple Batmans, with Jean-Paul Valley taking over for a while before he became Azrael, or went back to Azrael, and obviously with Dick Grayson stepping in, for a while. And there are plenty of Robins. There will be another Batman for whatever reason, and however long it lasts, but it will be a black Batman. So, yay!
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely on board for that.
I am on board for that as well. I love the idea. See, if you're gonna mess around with a classic character, I was gonna give Marvel some grief, but they did this, and they're doing this in the movies with Captain America. Sam Wilson was named Captain America while Steve Rogers was going through the fact that his serum had failed in the comic books, and he was old. And so you had Captain America was a black man for over a year. And they are clearly doing that with the comic book series, with the movie series of the MCU. But if you're going to be messing around with a big important character in another way, don't do the Captain America Hail Hydra crap. He does kind of look like a sort of a Spider-Man noir sort of thing, but I think that's just the way the artist is doing it with the dark colors and so on. I mean, the costume is just black, and then it's got some techno light up, like LED stuff, like his the bat symbol. So it's a little sort of like Batman meets Tron in the actual way he's drawn in the comics. But again, that's Batwing. That is not, I would assume, the design of the rumored upcoming Black Batman.
Well, I'm here for it if it's true.
Brady, I have 3 words to say and 3 words only. I am Batman. You and a whole lot of other people, Brady, but keep believing, man. Keep believing.
Don't stop believing.
Thank you. Also can't hit those notes. And moving on to our last topic here. Here it is, folks. The final trailer for... I think it's the final trailer. Their most recent trailer, let's put it that way. There may be another one coming out because we still got a little ways to go. This movie doesn't come out for a month, but it's been screened already to certain reviewers, so there are reviews out there already. That is, of course, Joker. Martin Scorsese-produced take on the DC Universe. This most recent trailer is possibly my favorite because it cements very, very clearly, in case you didn't know, that this Joker, this person who becomes Joker, is the protagonist of the movie. I don't want to call him the hero. He's definitely an anti-hero. He kills people.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the protagonist, and the antagonist is clearly Thomas Wayne.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and there are some really quick... I got to throw this... there are a lot of people who don't like these spoilers, so if you don't like to hear... It's not really a spoiler, it's an Easter egg spoiler. Maybe. It might have something to do with the deeper plot. But there's a scene where Joker is rapidly walking down the street away from some sort of chaos happening at the front of some sort of movie theater. And on the marquee and on the poster is... I forget. It's the same movie that's in the Batman v Superman or Justice League, whichever one it was, Death of Thomas and Martha Wayne scene. And it's a movie from the 80s that actually exists, and that was up on the marquee in that scene where Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who played Thomas Wayne in that movie, gets killed, as Thomas Wayne. In this Joker movie, that's the movie that's playing on this theater that Joker is walking away from as some sort of crap is going down.
Oh dear.
See if it's mentioned in. Now it's bothering me that it's mentioning what that is. Nope, no, it's not in here. Yeah. So anyway, they are throwing a reference to making this look like it kind of ties into the DC universe, even though it doesn't. And they've made that abundantly clear that this is the first of what they're calling the sort of independent filmmaker versions of DC stories. That they've decided not to have a connected DC universe anymore.
So are they just like washing their hands of the DCEU at this point?
Not really. Miss Maddie, welcome to the show. We're on our last topic. We're talking about that guy there, Joker, and the latest trailer that dropped for that movie. And we're talking about how connected this might be to the DCEU. So no, I mean, obviously Aquaman was connected to the DCEU. You had the same actor, and there were elements that happened that are referenced in that story. And they will still be making that. In theory, Birds of Prey will be connected to the DCEU. And because it is a because Jared Leto is cast as the Joker in that one, even if he may not actually appear. He may not. But Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn, and it is the same Harley Quinn as was in Suicide Squad. So they are still making movies that are connected to the DCEU. They're just not making them as a ongoing continuity like most of Marvel was. But then they are also making movies that are supposedly not connected to the DCEU, like Joker. Except there's that scene in the outside the theater where it's clearly, if not connected, it's a not very subtle nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But I'm really liking the looks of this. I can't wait to see it. This is already getting early reviews are better than any DC movie ever put out yet, and the movie doesn't come out for a month. It is probably going to be nominated for some Oscars.
I can see that.
It also spiritually has a connection to Martin Scorsese's King of Comedy, with Robert De Niro playing a Johnny Carson-esque late-night talk show host. And it looks wonderful. It's set in the 1980s, and right around that time when whatever this 1980s movie, which it's killing me that I can't remember it. It's not Commando. It's some action flick. Is being shown at this theater. But what do you think out there, folks? I'm seeing a previous note up there. Marvin, he looks like a YouTuber. That was a reference to Peter Capaldi. Okay, I can see that. There aren't a whole lot of YouTubers. Well, that's true. If you get into like a lot of the stuff I get into, like this dude talking science or that dude talking engineering, or let's look at the history of post-Roman Britain. Yeah, he definitely looks like him. Marvin, can you make more video again? Marvin, we're making more videos on a daily basis than we've made in any period since we started. We're cranking out more video than you can shake a stick at these days. What in particular are you talking about? He says, not knowing what's going to be talking about. Pocky, welcome to the show. And we are wrapping up with our final discussion
Yeah.
about Joker.
I'm definitely interested to see how this all plays out. Uh, the more I think about it, the more like I think this might be the smartest move that WB's made for this, for these movies.
I think it could be too, because I can make more videos. Oh, like this? Yeah, we do this every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Marvin, show on up. Away with Joker. Yeah, you could so many references here, like I did in one of my teasers. That's Joker Wayne Gacy, right there. That's the makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely inspired by John Wayne Gacy's Pogo. They went out of their way to not make this guy look like the comic book Joker, and to make him look like a serial killer. And they did a heck of a job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Luminous is waiting for Joker reviews and hoping for a New York Comic Con panel. It should be out in the theater it will be out in the theater before New York Comic Con. So it'll be interesting to see whether there's any sort of post premiere stuff happening at New York. Honestly, I'm getting my New York emails for our press passes, and I haven't even looked, so I should look one of these days. Emerson, oi. I'm guessing that means good evening. And if that's what it means, good evening. Languages outside of English are not my strong suit.
It technically is English, just not American English.
And no, afterwards he says something that I'm going to butcher. Buonanotte. Which
Yeah, I think it's Italian for good evening.
Definitely it's from Brazil, so Portuguese. Yeah, now you're getting you're getting way outside. I get English as English. Other than that, unless you're saying now you're going to speak English, maybe that's what he's saying, or type English. Anyway, you can sit here and watch me struggle with a foreign language, or we can say thank you all for joining. We've wrapped up. That is our last topic. We will see. Let's see. We will see a bunch of you hopefully at Granite Con if you're coming to Granite State Comic Con in Manchester, New Hampshire on the 14th and 15th. Adam Etheridge will see some of you at the Kalahari, coincidentally at the time of Colossal Con East. I think that's the nicest way I'm going to put that. And let's see. After that, we've got
New York.
AAC.
Oh, right, AAC. Why?
Another anime convention in Tewksbury.
No, Chelmsford.
Chelmsford, Massachusetts.
In my backyard.
Yep.
Woo!
And then we got New York Comic Con, and we'll have a ginormous crowd at New York Comic Con. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We're going to be rolling deep.
Hold on, Luminous. Also, the Breaking Bad movie has a release date. I didn't because it's not really nerdy, Luminous.
No. Yeah, there's a lot of correlation between that and the nerd scene, but not enough for us to reference it.
Yeah. I mean, I love Breaking Bad. I'm tentatively looking forward to the Breaking Bad movie because honestly, I don't think they need to say anything more about that. I would love to see anything Vince Gilligan does, but meh. But on that note, as we were saying, we're giving our what we're coming up to's. And there's a New York Comic Con early October, and then more stuff after that. Thank you all. We will see you again next Tuesday, 8 p.m. And good night.
Rock on, baby. Bye.